Hello, everyone. I am super excited to share with you my next featured client of Cultivate. Amy from Superior PR will be on shortly, and she and I have worked together for a few years, starting out, and you'll hear the story, but starting out as a solopreneur and now has a team of experts that we work with on a regular basis. So I think many companies need to know more about PR in general, public relations. So she's going to come on and share a little bit about her company and why she's being featured here today. So without further ado, let me introduce to you Amy from Superior PR. Hello, Amy.
Hi, Tina. How are you?
I'm great. Thank you again for coming on today. Would you mind telling the world a little bit about your background and how you got started with Superior, and who you serve and what outcomes they have if they decide to work with you?
Great. Yeah. Thanks for having me. Superior Public Relations was founded about 7 years ago, a little over 7 years ago. My background has been in boutique and large size public relations agency, mainly specializing in business to business public relations. So for the most part, it's been tech startups. So they're at a high growth stage of business and they need an extra push and buzz to help them increase visibility, drive more awareness with customers, secure more interest from investors. Prior to PR, I worked on the journalism side of things. And I think because of that, my approach has always been really grounded in storyline development and storytelling and knowing how to work with the press and how to tell a story that really maps back to business goals. So that's what we've done at Superior PR.
Awesome. And I think you hit on a good point there. So it's not just about even, first of all, someone has to get published, right? But then it has to be an engaging story and really tell what that business is about, like your clients. So I think that's key for people to understand. What else is something that you find you're educating clients on a lot in the public relations space?
So I would say, I always mention this, but PR is not a faucet that you can turn off and on. There's really foundational elements that are critical to creating that surround sound of awareness that people are looking for, that again align with goals that they have for sales and for business growth. So I would say at the onset of an engagement, almost always I'm working with companies now, whether they've been in business for 10 years or they have 3 employees and they've been in business for less than a year. Almost all of them need some refinement of their messaging. And that is their elevator pitch. What is their mission statement? How can they cohesively and very eloquently tell their story that really gets to who they are as a company and the value that they're providing to their market? And I think that's a lot of times something that's overlooked by businesses, how important it is to tell your own story and to think about it in a way that can resonate with a lot of different audiences.
Even knowing how long you've been in business, you have clients that have been with you like that long term. What do you contribute that success to? Because like you said, some people think PR is like, I've got something to tell the world and then right. I'll do it for 6 months or a year. Like what kind of maybe share an example of a story where you're super proud of where you've been with them for years and gotten lots of success?
I would say that I'm glad you brought that up because I think that is one of the things I'm most proud of, is that the average tenure of company that I work with is about 5 years, which is kind of unheard of, not necessarily for PR, but for the kind of PR I do, which is again, B2B tech startups that are at a high growth stage. Most of them come to me when they're about to close a seed round of funding or a Series A. So, they're new to the game. What I pride myself on is the fact that I really listen, A, and B, I'm honest about what I think will work, what I think stories that they need to tell that will really help them as a business. So I think I've done a good job of establishing relationships with clients where I feel there's a real trust there. They trust me and I trust them. And so it's a real open door policy conversation. And I'm more of an extension of their company as aside from a PR agency that just puts a press release out over the wire. One of my, I think most proudest moments in this business is working with a company that had gone through a tremendous amount of changes, including some crisis communications that I came on to help them manage. And they had a lot of team changes at the executive level, C-suite, and even, VP level, including marketing, but also CEO, president changes, that kind of thing. And I actually became the longest tenured employee at that company. And I wasn't an employee, but I lasted through lots of waves of changes, because they were changing markets, they were changing, again, leadership. And at one point, they named me the employee of the month, even though I was not the employee.
For a non-employee.
Even though I was an employee. And I think that, and it was a challenging piece of business to work on, from all the things I just said, but I think I learned the most from them. And again, I really established myself as somebody who listens, really tries to integrate with all members of their team to try to understand the story from all these different angles and how I can help, aside from getting a news article, like what are other ways that I can help them with their communications. And then lastly, I would say the other reason that I think that I've been able to keep and retain clients for so long is a lot because of you, Tina, and Cultivate, because I think, a few years ago when we started working together, I got to the point where it was going to be hard for me to scale with my clients that were growing. And I really wanted to grow with them instead of them growing out of me and having to go to a bigger agency. So with your help, I've been able to add team members and really think about how to be productive and effective with my time so that I can serve clients that have 2 employees and then clients that have 200.
Right. And I'm glad that you brought, thank you for that, by the way. I'm glad you brought up the team, because that was something I definitely wanted to highlight. You're the CEO, founder, and started Superior PR. But as we've been working together, you have developed such an amazing team. And matter of fact, I was talking about you to a client yesterday about really just knowing exactly who works with you and having the experience. And you were really strategic about the kind of people that you wanted to work on your team. Not, granted they're employees, but I really commend you for, you're like a family. And it truly does amaze me of the relationship you have with your staff. Tell me a little bit more about their, because they're each kind of individual, have their expertise, but yet all in the obviously public relations space. Tell me a little bit more about your team.
So I would say when I started Superior PR, 7 years ago, I was like, I just want to be responsible for me, myself, and I. PR agencies and PR, it's hard. It's a hard market. It's a hard business. And there's a lot of turnover because it's kind of an always on game. So when I went out on my own, I thought I don't have the time to invest in other team members to do it right. So for the first 5 years or so, it was just me. I would bring in contractors on an as needed basis if I had a lot going on. But there's just nothing like having a team that backs you, that, is enthusiastic about your growth and progress as you are. And so it actually happened really organically. I started working with you. It became clear that I couldn't do this on my own anymore if I wanted to grow my business. And I will say the first few hires came through word of mouth, because I am a mother and work-life balance is very important to me, but I also work very hard. And I think there's a lot of mothers out there who, it's weird to say this during this time, but I knew that I wanted to work at home, that I wanted to be able to drive my kid to a soccer practice, and I wanted to be able to have the flexibility to be here when they got home from school. And I think there's a lot of other women in that position. And I think until COVID, it's been an all or nothing game, where it's been, you're either going down, traveling on the train downtown, and you're working 40 hours a week or more in an office, or you're not working. And so by word of mouth, trying to look for people that were willing to work hard, but maybe just wanted more flexibility, because I knew that I wasn't going to provide, a Google setup with a cafeteria and yoga classes. I just wasn't going to pay for an office. So, but as a result of that, I always say this to my clients, it's also allowed me to keep my overhead really low and to keep my retainer budgets pretty digestible for startups because I don't have all this overhead. So that was really how it started. And I think, by, again, connecting with my network of former colleagues, I found other women who were, and it's not necessarily women, but that's just who works for me, who were the same thing. They have, a decade or more of experience. So everyone has a lot of experience. They're self-starters. And I think they shared my vision for wanting to work hard and do a good job, but kind of do it on their own terms with some more flexibility.
Right. And I think you indicated too that even before COVID, your team was working remotely. And that allowed you, by not having that brick and mortar for them to come to, that allowed you to find the best of the best, regardless of where they lived, which is huge.
Yep, exactly.
Awesome. Tell me a little bit, I know you mentioned Cultivate and our working relationship, which I absolutely love working with you and watching the growth from, like you said, a one lady show with these clients who were very much expecting a lot out of you and still do, and you're providing it, to having this larger team now. Tell me about that journey and what is, what would you say to others that may be in your space that do not have a business advisor?
So I'll be honest, I never thought that I would hire a business advisor. But Cultivate came to me, I'm not even sure how, but for PR. So I was doing a new business pitch with them and had met some of the team and heard their pitch because I was preparing a deck to be their PR representation. And as I was having initial conversations, because someone on your sales team was at a former client of mine, so that's why she called me for PR. And in hearing the Cultivate pitch and who you serve, I thought I'd check all these boxes. Like, this is me. They're explaining my business, at a certain point of growth, at a certain point of tenure, need to scale, need help to forecast and get some of the fundamentals in place. Again, I'm talking about fundamentals for PR and getting messaging. I was lacking that from a business perspective. I know how to do PR, but I wasn't really as strong in, just some of the business growth aspects of running a business. So in hearing that pitch, I thought this is something that could work for me, but I'll just test the waters and see what happens. And as my husband always says, because he was my original business advisor, unofficially, that you're the best thing that ever happened to my business. And you truly are. And I cannot overstate that enough. And I'm not saying this because you're the one interviewing me, but I say it to anyone who asks. I was thinking about this the other day. I feel like in some aspects, if we really pare it down, it's like getting a trainer or going to a gym class. Mm-hmm. Like, sure, you could go for a run outside and have a great workout, but there is something about someone else pushing you and guiding you who knows the ins and outs of the physiological body, that will just get you a better workout. And that's a very simplistic way to say it, but I do think that there were many things in my business that I thought, oh, maybe someday I'll hire people, or maybe someday I'll sit down and forecast. But that someday never comes. I mean, it had been 5 years. It wasn't even on my horizon. And I felt like what you provided to me was not only the expertise and knowledge to set up some of the infrastructure things, but you really instilled in me, you empowered me to make things happen. So you just gave me that extra boost, that like, here's how you can do it, but the confidence that you're at the right time to make these decisions and to move forward. And sometimes that's all you need. And your unofficial business advisor husband, who might say the same thing, like, maybe you should bring someone on. It seems like you're busy. I mean, I'm like, yeah, you don't know what you're talking about. But when it's coming from someone else who breaks down the financials and really gives you a playbook for how to make these things happen, it was invaluable. And then beyond that, I think even when I initially brought on the first couple hires, and we have, I have a team, there's 6 people that work for me now, being able to say, can you interview them too? Because it was just me. So just having an additional resource to just help vet and make some decisions was, hugely helpful, and it still is now.
Awesome. And I am smiling because I have used that exact analogy with others of the personal trainers. Like, yeah, absolutely. So it's simplistic, but it's total correlation, right? You hire an expert in the gym, or you hire a financial advisor expert because you don't know how to do stocks, or you hire someone to
Or
do
you hire a PR
PR.
expert because you don't know how to
Exactly.
exactly.
So you hire to your weaknesses,
Yep.
and you've got that accountability and the extra that even though I'm very much engrossed in your business and I feel the highs and the lows with you, I'm not in it every day. So I have that outside perspective where I can say, it's okay to do this, Amy, or, don't do this or do that.
Totally. And I think that's come out as well in just like negotiations with clients, where I just need someone else to say, no, you shouldn't adjust your contract like that. Or maybe you should think about approaching it like this. Things that on your own, in your own world, you can't see the forest from the trees to make good decisions sometimes. And those can be detrimental to you and your team and your business. And so I think I've avoided some of those landmines because I can get a second opinion from you.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. And I forget about the interviewing process, that even that has been part of it, because it's when we just sit here and reflect on that, it was you, and then it was like, it's okay to hire someone, and was part of bringing on those additional staff. And now we're doing team meetings on a monthly basis where I'm facilitating, that whole strategy with your entire team. So yeah, when I think back to 2 years ago, or 2+ years ago to now, it's been a great journey.
Yep, absolutely.
Who would be your ideal prospect, or someone that you say, yeah, most likely I can definitely help their company? What would that company look like?
So I always say that I don't specialize in any one industry, because I really look for a good fit, both as a relationship and also as, where they are as a business, and do they have a story I think is, something we can do, something we can work with. But I would say typically it's businesses selling to other businesses. And growth stage, again, I have had clients coming to me that have, all gone all the way to Series C and have a significant amount of funding, a huge team. I would say that's the rarity. It's more people that, again, are preparing to close a round of funding, or just have a few people and know that they need some more awareness. And like I said, it can be just help with messaging so that they get their sales decks really crisp and they are ready to present to investors or partners. So it's anyone that's at a stage where they realize that their story needs refinement and that they need to drive strategic awareness. And that's a big, net to cast, but I think that it really is anyone who's looking to refine and tell their story.
Right. I think a large net is okay from that perspective. And then, like you said, a lot of it comes down to relationship, and then, what their company looks like. So would a company reach out to you, and then you would have that sort of initial call to make sure it made sense for the two of you?
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly.
Awesome.
We usually start with like a 20 to 30-minute call, and I tell them a little bit about myself, which if they're seeing this, they already can learn. And then they tell me a little bit about their business, and we talk about, what a potential engagement might look like, and, what timing and engagement would potentially make sense.
Perfect. Anything else you would like to share with the world that we didn't cover today?
I don't think so. Just that, I think Superior PR is a really unique business model, a lot because of what I've been able to do with your help, with Cultivate's help. So I think that we have really brought together a team of seasoned experts who are professionals and understand all the facets of helping a business grow. And I think PR is a really valuable resource, and oftentimes very cost effective as well, in helping businesses scale, just like I've done with you.
How can people reach you if they wanted more information on Superior PR?
So my website is superior-pr.com, and it has, all the services that we offer. It has a list of client expertise and more about my team. My email is aimee@superior-pr.com.
If you would like to learn more about Cultivate Advisors and how we help small business owners grow, please reach out to myself at tina@cultivateadvisors.com, or look for more information on cultivateadvisors.com. Thank you for listening.